What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name is Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Runs show. Hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. I know that mine is, because anytime we get to watch college football on a Saturday, it is a good day. And even though it's only the spring games today, particularly for Texas A&M, it's still football. We still get to look at the new look Aggies, and I think they are one of the most exciting teams coming into this year of college football. A lot of questions, particularly on offense, but they got a very solid defense, still a lot of talent on the entire roster, and obviously, right on the door of the playoffs last year, and a lot of hope again for this year. They got a lot of talent, potentially even more talented than last year, less experience, but again, we shall see. I think the Aggies are in for a great year. Just before we get into the breakdown of the actual spring game and sort of what I saw from every one of the players, again, you lose Mond, which is obviously huge on the offense. A lot of questions in terms of your offensive line in particular. 9 of 11 starters returning on defense, so that Aggies defense is going to be one of the best again in college football. But I'm really curious to see the way that the Aggies continue to move forward. I think Jimbo Fisher is a fantastic coach, but how can they handle the expectations? Because they're right up there with some of the highest expectations, at least in the SEC, but really in all of college football as well. So if you guys care about the final scores, the maroon team ended up taking it. But I sort of want to go position by position, break down what I saw, break down sort of what to expect as well looking into the fall. So obviously the quarterback situation was the one that everybody was focused on. You lose Mond, who's been your 4-year starter. He's going to the NFL draft. So now it's really a 50-50 situation between Zach Calzada, who had a pretty good day today, also Haynes King. Both quarterbacks actually looked really well today. We'll start with Haynes King. And I think, if the season were to start right now or start tomorrow, he's probably the guy that I would trend towards to be my starting quarterback. What I saw from him today was the ability to use his feet as much as you can in a spring game. I thought both quarterbacks were very, very decisive, but Haynes King, had some pretty good throws. I thought he was good at throwing the ball away, except for that one time when he was sort of injured in that second half. But yeah, I think, you got a winning quarterback whether you go with King or Calzada. From what I saw from Calzada was, again, some pinpoint throws. He did throw an interception in that 2-minute drill, which was probably, if I highlight one sort of hiccup that he had. But for the most part, he was very decisive today as well. Again, you can't really show off the legs that he has, but I think Calzada, could be a winning quarterback as well. I think that for both quarterbacks, it was a little tough just because the offensive lines, not only did you lose a lot of guys, as we'll talk about in just a second, but injured today as well. They didn't really have a lot of their healthy guys in there, and there were a lot of free sort of rushers putting a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks, more than you would see sort of in a regular game, which makes it really tough to evaluate a quarterback. And probably what Jimbo Fisher wanted to evaluate today. But then on the flip side, I think we saw a lot about how quarterbacks are handling the pressure, how they're able to sit in the pocket and either throw the ball away or make really accurate throws quickly. I thought both quarterbacks did have good reads. Calzada was probably a little more inaccurate at times, but again, I think that both of these guys really could be great quarterbacks for the Aggies next year. Next up, I want to go over the running backs. We did see Isaiah Spiller today. I know that was sort of a big question coming into the day. He's one of the elite running backs in all of college football, at least in the SEC. But the one thing about him is you need the health. He needs to be there. And I think when he is, the Aggies really have one of the more elite backfields in all of college football. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Achane today. He was at a track meet at LSU, but again, you've got a track guy in the backfield there. We saw what he did in the Orange Bowl and sort of towards, especially the end of the season, sort of last year. And then obviously you got Smith in there as well, who's obviously a great pass catcher. Had a bit of a rough day today, got yelled at a few times, but overall it's a fantastic backfield. In terms of wide receivers, we saw a lot of drop passes. Preston, Lane, Jones, all drop passes, but those guys are tremendous receivers. The one thing that you need to see about these receivers, though, going into the year, they just need to develop the depth a little bit. They do have pieces there. They do have talent, but you got to develop those guys into being real threats on the field. Got to clean up the route running, especially from Smith. We saw at the end of the first half mess up some routes. But overall, I mean, they do have the talent there. It's just about cleaning up those routes. It's about also making sure that they're actually catching the balls, because we did see a lot of drop passes today. Obviously, in terms of offense, the offensive line is the big concern. You know, last year, 4 of your 5 main guys, right, were seniors. They lose a lot of guys. So today, sort of, we saw the effects of that. And I think, you know, that's why the defense sort of early in the season is going to need to step up. But yeah, they lost Moore, which is the big one on that offensive line. You lose a couple other guys as well, meaning that you're putting sort of year 1, year 2 guys into that mix. It's just going to take time. So I don't really think, you know, you should be losing any sleep over what we saw from them today. I think, again, there's a lot of talent there. In terms of defense, you're keeping 9 of the 11 guys, but you're losing some major ones in Bobby Brown. You're also losing Buddy Johnson at the linebacker position. Obviously, not only a tremendous linebacker, but sort of one of your leaders on this defense. You know, there was some thought that potentially they would lose Aaron Hansford as well. That's not the case, which really helps the depth of A&M, because the linebacker position would have been the weakness. It still sort of is on defense, because you got to find somebody to sort of go in there and fill the shoes, but they got a ton of depth as well. You look at Cooper, whether that's Andre White, you got Antonio Doyle in there as well, Russell Jr. as well. So they do got the depth. You do need to fill the shoes, obviously, more particularly in terms of leadership. I think in terms of the talent at the linebacker position, A&M will be just fine. But overall, I thought in coverage today, they were really good. You know, no real deep throws at all. We saw, again, the pressure, but I think most of that has to do with the weaknesses on the offensive line as opposed to sort of the really good stuff on the defensive line. But yeah, I thought the coverage was really good. Overall, I love this A&M defense. They ranked like number 1 or 2 last year in the SEC. So I think, you know, they're going to be right there again. Just need to clean up a bunch of things, but obviously a ton of time until, you know, you report back to camp in June. So I think there's a lot to look out for here for Texas A&M. Obviously, yes, you're playing an extremely tough SEC schedule again, but really there's no reason that I think, you know, that A&M isn't going to be right back up there into one of the best teams, according to the AP polls, in the country. I think you got 2 winning quarterbacks, even though you lost Mond. I think they'll be able to fill those shoes as long as they clean up the offensive line. I think they'll be just fine. They're one of the best coaching teams in all one of the best coach teams in all of college football. I love Fisher. I love their defensive coordinator as well. So a lot of bright spots here. But anyways, guys, if you did make it to this point in the video, thank you. I want to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Give me some predictions on what you guys think A&M is going to do next year. Also, if you did watch the spring game, I know it was pretty tough to find and pretty tough to watch, but if you did watch a spring game, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But again, make sure to leave a thumbs up. It would do me a huge favor. Subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs. I will have the Tennessee post-game show for the spring game as well. I'm currently watching that right now, so if you're interested in that or college football in general, we cover a ton on the channel, so definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button and stick around. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.